today, people? How you guys doing?
Hey, welcome to the Heart Wellness Experience. I'm Ash.
And I'm D.
And we're here to kind of chop it up with you people today. So we received a specific request that we kind of dive into a conversation about infidelity within marriage.
Yes.
We thought who better to talk about it than people who have experienced it, lived it, survived it, and are thriving on the other side of it. If y'all are wondering who we're talking about, it's us.
We went through it.
So we want to jump into it. We both have been unfaithful within our marriage, have cheated on each other. It initially started like back in, I guess, like 07-ish time frame. I guess we had been married at that point about 5 or 6 years. We had done a deployment where the first deployment he went on
To Baghdad.
the first deployment, we learned a lot about ourselves as individuals. We learned a lot about us within our relationship, and had a plan, you know, when we came back together, that our relationship would even be stronger, because we thought we had something pretty strong to begin with.
Yes.
He got back from Iraq, or Afghanistan, you said? Iraq. And we moved to a whole new duty station. And in that duty station, in my mind, we were going to go back to the same kind of routine we were in before he left, which was he worked a pretty steady 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever, 7 to 3 type of job at the hospital. And he was now in a field unit where there was no start and stop time.
It was not.
That was routine.
Till about 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, I was gone. I was not at the house.
Sometimes later than that.
Even later, depending on what we had going on.
Yeah, and so you got deployment, we come back together, you got small children, a wife, in a new duty station. I don't have friends yet, I don't have family there. He's gone all the time. And there's a different mindset that you go into when your spouse is deployed, and a different mindset that he's in when he's deployed as well. And so it's like when he's miles away and he can't help me with the family dynamics, excuse me, I understand that because he's literally miles away. But when he's kind of, I could drive to get to him and he's not present, it puts you in a different place of like resentment and like frustration. So yeah, that was my side of it. For you? Yeah,
and I mean, I felt like I was providing and coming home at night, and we had money in the bank, and I was progressing in my career.
And really back then it was like we didn't have the tools to make it all work, because it all can work. You can be successful in your career, you can be a great husband, a great wife, amazing parent, and still do well outside of those dynamics. But communication was lacking. We were not good communicators. No. Our understanding of success, the definition was different. So what I felt like would have made him a successful husband in that particular season of life, and what he thought he needed to do, were two different things, and vice versa for me as his wife. You know, like we had two different understandings and we weren't communicating that. So that went on for a while, until the point where there's just started to be kind of a disconnect between us. And we did try to talk about it. When I talked to him about it, which was difficult for me to do because of pride, and I said, hey, I don't really think we're doing okay, and I feel like we're not, you know, connecting. I need more, you know, wanting him to like text me or call me, just kind of check in at different points in the day, just to say, hey, you're on my mind, or whatever, stuff like that. And he said, I hear you, I'm gonna do better, you know. He didn't do better.
I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do as a husband. I would say I neglected the whole part of being communicating,
emotionally available,
and being emotional. That's where I was going. Being emotionally available. Like I came home and I would go home and I would go right into the room, and man, cause it would be so late. It'd be like 10 o'clock. I would just fall asleep. Sometimes I would fall asleep in my uniform. Yeah. You know, so.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait to eat till he gets home. I just got the children down, and you know, he would be like, give me like 5 seconds. I'm gonna go change my clothes. I'll be right back out. You know, I'll be waiting, and then I go back there. He's knocked out, and so I could see he was visibly exhausted. For me, at that point, when I felt like I put myself out there and he didn't really respond, I just started to kind of emotionally withdraw and kind of go to a numb place. Numb is never good, ever. It's never, ever good to be numb. No. So I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't nothing. I just didn't feel anything. I would go through my normal routines in the day, and we didn't really argue or fight or anything because I wasn't really I stopped giving energy at that point, which was an open door for infidelity to happen, okay? So what ended up happening is an ex-boyfriend of mine from high school, we reconnected and just started talking on the phone. Now, that's the beginning of the affair, in my personal opinion.
Because that emotional connection is stronger than that sexual deal. And stronger than sex, man.
Yeah, and it made it difficult because reality versus like fantasy become blurred. Like, it's hard to see what's real and what's not real, especially if there's already history. Like, this was someone I had already dated, so there's already history in that particular realm. I thought it was innocent because we lived eons from each other. I was in the north, this person was in the south at the time. But the problem was my husband didn't know about it. I intentionally did not, talk to him about it. And though me and my ex weren't talking about at that time anything like about him and I or anything sexual, I was giving him information about my day, about my person, about my thoughts, about what was going on with me. So it was very easy for me to really begin to disconnect even more from my husband and to connect to this person and to really think that it was not going to be a problem.
And I always say that, I always say that a man and a woman can't be friends if one thinks that it's a friendship and the other thinks that's an opportunity.
It's true.
So if I'm waiting on the opportunity for you to slip up or for your man to slip up and for me to dive in, then it's not a friendship between us.
Right.
And the same token, if you're waiting on me to slip up in my relationship or anything like that, you're just waiting on the opportunity.
And let's be clear about that. When we talk about friendships, we don't believe that you can't have friends of the opposite sex.
No.
That's not what we're saying. We have friends of opposite sex, but any guy friend that I have, my husband knows this person. Like, I make sure that they have met, and if he feels any kind of like red flags, then me and that person are not friends. And vice versa, if there's females in his life, like there are girlfriends of mine that can call his phone, they have his number, that's a non-issue. However, I don't have a problem with it. I know who they are, I know how the relationship works and the dynamics and all of that. You won't find me going out to dinner with any of my guy friends, even that he knows about. I won't be out to dinner with them by myself, nothing like that, and vice versa. Like, there's a certain level of wisdom that you operate in. Even though I trust myself and I trust that person, you don't give room. You understand? Like, you don't give room for something to happen or for something to appear to be what it's not. Like, you just don't cross those lines.
You gotta constantly guard yourself.
And guard your marriage.
And so, and even in situations where it's like, it could be innocent, a hug. If we anywhere where it's like a hallway, no one's there, no one can say, I don't need to give you a hug. I just need to back up and say, okay, at the end of the day, I'm a man and you're a woman.
Yeah.
And so that opens up a door for something to happen. It opened up this door for a connection above the connection that me and my spouse have.
It should not be something that I'm divulging to someone of the opposite sex that I don't divulge to my husband. Like, no one should know depths to me that he doesn't know. I have girlfriends that I talk to about things, and we're super tight. However, I still talk to my husband about stuff like nothing is going to be catching him unaware, if that makes sense. And it's about intimacy between him and I. We're one. So there shouldn't be anybody, male or female, that I go to a more intimate place with that person than I do my husband. That's definitely crossing a line and boundaries within your marriage dynamic. I went from just talking to that person on the phone. My husband got stop loss, had to go back to Iraq. We were not anticipating that. We thought we were gonna get out of the military, and in my mind, we would work on our marriage then. I thought I could just kind of put it on the shelf. We'll deal with our issues later. Later didn't come like I thought it was gonna come.
Everything inside her was like no, and then in my mind, in the physical, it was like no.
So to bring you guys up to snuff, once he got those orders to go to Iraq, I came back down to Florida where my mom was at to have some support to prepare for him leaving. And I basically told him while I was there, I don't want to be with him anymore. Because now it's like in my brain, we can't work. We're already not in a good place and you're going back to Iraq. This is not going to work. I now feel this connection with someone else. Let's just be done, call it quits and be done. Yeah.
And so for me, I just said, man, I remember flying down from New York to Florida. And flying down, it was like I could hear God say, this right here is a season. You have to be strong and be on the other side to be that rock, to be that pillar for her after this season. And it was basically that thing echoed in my ear like, you can't change her. The only thing you can do is work on you. And so, man, I had to stand on that word that this right here was a season that we're going to get through this. I had to stand on that. Even when it didn't look like it was going to be anything. I had to stand on that.
How does that, what you just said, work into the physical affairs that you had on me even after that word? Because mind you, once I got to Florida, I did have a physical relationship with this person that I told him about, which obviously did not go over well. Then we had, you know, a lot of verbal confrontations about it. But he also reciprocated that type of behavior within our marriage, with people outside of our marriage.
And so with that being said, like standing on that, I'm standing on that. But like I said, in the physical, it wasn't looking like it. And so
I was giving him no hope.
Yeah, no hope. But in my mind, I'm still telling her, listen, this is what's gonna be, this is what's gonna be, this is what's gonna be. I'm calling her, I'm checking on her, seeing about children, all this type of stuff.
But I was very disconnected.
But in the physical, it was like, man, this thing, it doesn't work. It's not gonna work. There's no way this can work. There's no way this can work. And so I'm like, okay, let me start putting myself in this position. Not all the way because I know what God said, but let me just take a little bit of steps just in case. Just in case it don't work, let me take a little bit of steps. And so, you know, I started talking to other people, you know, and communicating with them. But at the same time, I had my wife's picture up in my room. You know, they come in my room, my wife's picture's up. I've shown pictures of my family, of my wife. You know, and then I remember coming back down to Florida, after everything. You know, I was over the phone with a guy named Jim Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
He gave me counseling over the phone while I was in the overseas.
And I had counseling with his wife, Arlene. This is after. So I had the affair with my ex from high school, and then I proceeded to have 2 more in addition to that. Me and him broke up, kind of entertained these other 2 situations. And then I personally kind of came to my rock bottom, because the deal is with affairs too, your person begins to change. So I was going to clubs, I was drinking, I was getting sitters for my children every single weekend. I was trying to feel that placing me up, you know. I felt rejected by my husband initially. That's where the neglectful things that were happening in New York. So he wasn't beating me, he wasn't cheating on me, he wasn't, you know, demeaning me or anything like that. He was expressing his heart for me and his family by making sure that we were provided for. But I needed something more than that. I didn't know how to express that or how to really hold the line, even though I was feeling like there was an area he wasn't meeting in me. I had a relationship with God, and I didn't know how to take it from where it was to the next level. Like, you know, we were acquainted, but we weren't quite intimate, me and God. So it's like I needed him to do twice as much to kind of make me feel like I was important or valuable, and not realizing that I already had that within God. So if he wasn't going to do it, I have this ex that's making me feel good. Okay, now this is not going the way I thought it was going to go. Here's the next person that's going to make me, here's the next person. And then you kind of, for me, I got to that place where I was like, none of this is working, and I feel even worse than I felt before all this stuff started. I got to figure something out. So that's when I began to look for a church to be a part of. God led me to an amazing church, Jubilee, a church in Pensacola, Florida, where I met Arlene and other people that really started to surround me and help me as an individual get to a place with God that wasn't depending on whether my husband or anyone else was affirming me.
Yeah. And then for me, you know, being overseas in Iraq, man, it was like...
Cause he was turning up, y'all.
Yeah, loneliness is it's a crazy thing.
It is.
You lonely, man, and you don't have nobody, you don't have someone like just holding you down, and you don't really know what's going on. Man, that deal right there would drive you to do some crazy stuff, man. I remember being and I never really was a club guy. I never really went to the club like that. That wasn't my scene. That's not what I like to do, you know. But I remember being out there, man, and we had this thing called R&B night, and so it was just basically the club. And so going to the club, even when I was up in New York, going out to the club like every weekend, it wasn't even my thing, you know. But I was out there, and like, cause I was like, I gotta find something to fill this void. And at that point, I knew God. I always knew God, you know. But it's like I wasn't turning to Him. I was turning to other things to try to fill that hole. I was like, okay, how many girls can I go out here and talk to? How many drinks can I? You know what I'm saying? Let me get out on the dance floor and let me dance a little bit. I was turning to other things instead of turning to God, you know, totally disconnected from.
So he came home for R&R, which is when they come home for 2 weeks in between their tour in Iraq. We went to go get our children from Louisiana because my mother-in-law had them so that he could see her and the children during that trip. We ended up getting into a huge fight. It did get a little physical between us, and then he had just found out about like the third affair I had had. However, I hadn't told him about it, but he could always peer into my person and know when I'm keeping something from him. So that ended up being exposed. Things did not go well. We were not in a good place. So we get back to Pensacola. We were supposed to go to where I'm from in Haines City, Florida, but we ended up not being able to do that, which was probably for the best. Went to church, barely talking, barely holding hands, anything. And the sermon was good. It was about, specifically, I remember, it was about how the things that you hide hold you captive. Like you're thinking you're keeping it captive, but it's actually holding you captive type of deal. And the enemy always dangles it over your head because he's like, I'll expose you if you don't do this, or I'll expose you, and if people knew this, or if your husband knew that, you know, whatever. And so I'm like, oh my God, that's so for me. So I go to the altar. The lady that wants to pray with me, she does, and she says, I just really feel like we need to pray with your husband. So I look to see if he's at our seat. He's not at the seat. And I'm like, I can't believe it. This boy done left the church. He was at the altar on the other side of where I was at. And from that point to getting back to our seat, we had several people pray for us, spot on.
Just reading my mail, man. I'm like,
and mine too.
You guys crazy. Know.
He thought I was telling our business, but I had it.
We talking to y'all, but they knew all this stuff, man. And so I got set up with Jim, and then I was kind of doing some counseling with him or whatever.
And let us be clear, like the counseling, we never did marriage counseling. We probably should have.
Yeah.
But we never did. This kind of counseling is more, we call it inner healing, and it's specific to like the person. So what happens is when you have two broken people and they enter into a union, you being married doesn't change that you're broken. Okay, for a short while in that honeymoon stage and in maybe the beginning, he can be my person that makes me feel like, kind of like my drug or my alcohol. He numbs the pain for me, and I can do the same for him.
Yes.
But as time goes on, he's also the one that's going to see how really broken I am, because he's seeing me all the time. I don't get to go back to my house or back to my apartment or away from him when things are starting to get, you know, a little murky. So this counseling or inner healing, as it's termed in our church there, what it did is it really focused on what parts about me being broken needed to be addressed. Once those things were addressed by the Holy Spirit, then I was able to come as a whole person into the union that we have, which we were already married, but bring that whole person who has forgiven people who have assaulted me in the past, the case, rejection, dealing with those different issues with the Lord so I can believe the truth about who I am, which dictates the type of things I'm going to do. When you understand who you are and whose you are and the price that was paid for you by Jesus, there's just certain things that you will not allow yourself to do and places that you will not go within your own realm of life and living, because you understand and you value too much the price that's been paid for you, if that makes sense. That began to make our marriage something that we could have hope for again. Like, okay, maybe we can work, maybe something can happen. So he went back to Iraq. We were on good terms to finish up his term, his deployment.
Yeah, we were.
And then, we were totally on good terms, yeah. And then he ended up having another affair there, and he told me about, and I remember being really upset, really hurt. And
Cause in me, it happened too quick. It was like, man, this happened too fast.
Like it can't be really.
Like something else gonna happen. So I'm just gonna keep my wits about me, and I'm gonna go ahead and continue to set up little stuff. I mean, knowing what God said, cause I mean, I'm talking to her, telling her, listen, God said this, God said that.
He was trying to make sure I wasn't doing nothing.
And I went, and I'm like, all right. Well. Because
I had a track record of giving him partial truth. So I would tell him a little bit, but then he would find out the real gist later. So in his mind, he's not able to see what's really happening with me and if what I'm saying is really true. And so anyhow, he tells me about it. I was upset, hang up with him. And I'm like, God, I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand how he could have that experience we had together and then go over there and do that. And as clear as I'm talking to y'all now, I heard God say, I knew that this would happen and it doesn't change anything. And I felt this peace, like, rest on me. And I never harped on that situation ever again. I forgave him. He came back from Iraq, and legit, it's crazy, but our marriage has only gotten better since then. It was like, you know, people ask me, how can you trust him again, or how can he trust you? And the way I can express it for myself is I just have an understanding that this is plan A, and I have no plan B. So if for some reason he is lying to me and he's out there, he got a whole nother family or whatever is going on, if that is true, when I come into the knowledge of it, because everything done in the dark will come to the light, I trust that God is going to then tell me what I need to do. But I don't need to be planning for and not trusting, and I don't know what's going to happen. I can't control this man. I can't control really anything other than how I live my life and how I respond to things. So I've just made a decision that I'm going to trust God, and I'm going to do everything within my ability to honor this man, to love him, to respect him, to submit to him, to follow as the word of God has shown me what it means to be a wife, and to help me to be that, and to lean on the Holy Spirit to empower me to do it, because I really can't do it on my own. Yeah. So to encourage y'all, if there has been infidelity in your marriage, it doesn't mean that you can't come back from it. But I've seen a lot of people not come back from it. And the one thing that I can say is consistent in those different situations is that the two of them didn't decide to surrender to God. We came to a place where it was like, even if this doesn't work, I want to be in right standing with God, period. So I'm gonna humble myself, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And God, I'm gonna trust you and see what you're gonna do with my life at that point. So I was brutally honest about everything that happened. I was willing to change. I was willing to be humble and to do the things I needed to do so that we could have something that was real, that we could stand on, that was unshakable. And for you.
And so for me, I had to let my pride down and realize that, it was a point that I did mess up. That even though I was doing all those things that I said I was doing, I was not making myself emotionally available. I was not doing the things that it took to sustain my marriage. I wasn't a student of my wife. I had to become a student of who she was, how she operated, understand that she liked quality time, acts of service. And so I had to figure out her love languages. And so she had to figure out mine. But for me, I had to figure those things out so I know how to go forward, how to enhance our deal and how to make it better. And so those are some of the things that I had to do. And even our communication, I had to enhance our communication where I was talking and I was texting throughout the day and calling throughout the day to say, what's up, how you doing? Thinking about you, letting her know. Because I would do those. I would think about her all day, throughout the day. But I would never just say that. And so me basically was letting my pride down to realize, even though I was bringing home the bacon, even though I wasn't out there drinking and talking to all these other chicks and all this type of stuff, that I was being neglectful in another way. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the main thing too, we had to forgive each other and forgive ourselves. And we had to recognize that we were damaging to other people's lives. Every person we had an affair with, we created, negativity in their life by doing that. And we had to take accountability for that. I had to take accountability that my choices in that season were not the best choices for me as a mom to my children. That was a hard blow to accept. But I did have to forgive him, and I had to forgive myself.
Yes, we had to. I think that was the biggest thing: forgiving each other and forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for those things. Because the thing is, once you repent and ask God for forgiveness, He doesn't remember anymore. It's done, and so you're never gonna forget it, but you can't forgive that person and then move forward from there, and then trusting.
Oh yeah, that's
trusting.
Huge. People ask us that all the time.
Trusting God.
How do we trust each other now?
Trusting God, but loving people. I love my wife. I trust God. I trust her in God's hands. That because of God, she's gonna do the thing that she's supposed to do, because she has a covenant with God on her own. I have a covenant with God on my own. And together, we both have a covenant with God and in our marriage. So I have to trust that her covenant is strong with Him.
So there really is a surrender of all of it. If I'm playing boo-boo the fool right now, I have to trust that God has me. And that has really been a huge success in our marriage. We're not wasting energy and time. I don't have some backup plan or some secret account that he doesn't know about just in case he do the wrong thing, I can escape. I really have surrendered this plan, our plan, to God, and let Him lead us and guide us. We hope that it encourages you guys, that for any of y'all that have had this happen in your marriage, that you can look at us as a testimony and know that God can do it. He really can. We were so far gone. I mean, it was so far gone and done. I had called divorce lawyers, all of that. We were on our way to make this thing happen, and God intervened. And so if he can do it in us, we're not any different than y'all. There's nothing so special or so like, you know, oh my gosh, but that's Dee and that's Ashley. No. It's God.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
It's God, and he's just bigger than all of it.
Yes.
And he has a plan. So if you want it to work, you got to surrender to the plan, and you got to surrender to the plan. It can't be me trying to drag him along or him trying to drag me along. I got to get on board with God and trust that he's going to deal with him on his own, like he said.
Yeah.
And that worked for us.
Yeah.
So
What if? Because the enemy's coming after your marriage all the time. But what if he's not just coming after your marriage for you? He's coming after your marriage for the people that you're going to touch down the line.
So true.
For the people that you're going to hit down the road. What if he's doing that? What if he knows the next great leader is going to come across your path, you and your wife's path? The next great couple is going to come right across you and your wife's path. And if he can break that up and disrupt that, then they won't be touched. They won't be moved.
And I don't even want to contemplate what our children would be like if we would have divorced. I just don't.
Yeah. So at a point in time, when this thing happens, infidelity happens, your heart turns from back here, they turn to here, to this motion here. And so you got to come from this motion and go back to this motion right here where you got each other's back.
Right. You're protecting
Not
your
only do we
marriage.
have each other's back, we're supporting each other. If we stand like this right here, if she's trying to fall, it's hard for her to move, man, if I'm right here behind her.
Yes,
And it's hard for me to do the same thing if she's right there behind me. So you guys got to support each other and have each other's back. So move from the posture of fighting each other and fighting right here to, you know what? This right here is bigger than us. This is bigger than us. Let's turn around, let's fight each other back because the enemy is coming after us right now.
And he's not going to stop.
He's not going to stop.
But he has no authority, so y'all got this. All right, signing out. Comment below, guys. Let us know if this video has helped you. Let us know if there's something else you guys want us to delve into. Y'all can comment too if y'all have specific questions. We will comment back to you. Every single comment will get a reply. Subscribe, like, share this video. Hope it blesses somebody and that it rescues someone and helps them to have hope in God.
And with that being said,
Hartwellness.